nice things about living around here is you can look right over to Canada. How cool is that? You can look right over and see Canada. In certain places you can wave and they'll wave back, so that's kind of cool. What's going on, guys? Now that we're done with that nice little intro, I wanted to do a video just talking to you guys, explaining what were the main reasons why I traded in my Camaro for this Jeep Wrangler Unlimited. It really came down to a couple different factors that made me trade in my Camaro, but I figured I should go over them. So there's 5 main reasons, and then there's a bonus at the end, so stay tuned for that one. But getting into the first, and I guess not the most important reason, but it was definitely one of the things that I was thinking about. It was the depreciation value. Now, just looking at the value of what the Camaro was when I bought it versus what it was, after just a year of ownership, the depreciation value, it was pretty significant. Just the fact that it was a V6 Camaro. If you guys don't know, it was a 2012 Camaro RS V6 manual. So looking at the trends of older Camaros and just seeing what like an older V6 Camaro is worth versus the V8. Yeah, if you look at like the F-body Camaros, like the V6s versus the V8s or the ZL1s, just looking at the value of those, you're going to be able to see that it's a huge difference. The thing is, if I was going to keep the car forever, then it wouldn't really matter what the value of it was, just keep it forever. But I knew going into this that it wasn't going to be my forever car. So with that in mind, I didn't want to take a huge hit on the car. I drove it for about a year. And when I saw the depreciation value was starting to take a big hit, that's when I was like, okay, this is the time. I should trade it in now before it loses any more value. It's one of the reasons why I traded in that car, because of the depreciation value. If it was the V8 or ZL1 or something like that, the value of it would have held a little bit longer. But since it was the V6, the car is only going to be worth what it's going to be worth. Now, the second reason is the lifestyle. Now, this has nothing to do necessarily saying that the Camaro is a bad car or anything like that, or, I couldn't live the lifestyle I wanted to live because of a car. It's not necessarily that. Camaro didn't necessarily fit the lifestyle that I normally live. I like doing outdoor things, like camping and like doing off-roading stuff and adventuring and, doing rallies and stuff like that. Where you need to bring a lot of stuff with you, a lot of equipment, and you need to bring people with you. It's not necessarily saying that the Camaro couldn't do that, but the Camaro really, it's not really like a car that you would take with you camping or getting dirty and doing stuff like that. I would feel bad if I got into the car, and I was dirty and I, need to drop off gear and stuff like that. And plus the car couldn't carry that much gear around with me. Really looking at myself and really looking at what I wanted, the Camaro necessarily wasn't fitting the lifestyle. I'm not necessarily saying that the car was limiting me in what I could and couldn't do. It makes things a lot easier when you have something like this versus a 2-door coupe. It doesn't make that much sense to have that type of car when you're going to be doing stuff like this. So yeah, plus I wanted to put my bike rack on this car and stuff like that, so it really didn't quite make as much sense with that. Another reason was the mods and the DIY stuff that I wanted to do with that car. I came pretty much to the end of the stuff that I could do by myself with the Camaro, and without really going into making the car much more of like a more race car setup for the streets. I mean, I could have done, more stuff, obviously. I could have done, an intake, exhaust, tune, stuff like that. But really, for it being the V6, I really didn't see there was necessarily a reason to try to modify it more, because it was a V6, it wasn't the V8. If it was a V8, then maybe I would have modified it, maybe I would have, done more stuff to it. But for it being the V6, there was only so much stuff that I could do to it to make it quicker. Also, because that was my daily driver, I didn't want to turn it into much more of like a race car setup. I didn't want to do stiffer suspension. I didn't want to put in race car seats or racing seats, because that would have been a pain to getting in and out of the car constantly, and having a racing harness. I didn't really want to do that. I didn't really want to do stuff to the engine or do a tune or stuff like that. So a lot of things that I did do to the car was quick aesthetic things to the exterior of the car. So with that in mind, I knew that I was pretty much at the end of what I wanted to do with that car. I felt like it was pretty much almost stock, just it looked good. Now with the Jeep in mind though, there's so much more things that I could do to the car. There's just endless possibilities. So with that in mind, I knew that I could really make the Jeep my own and really do a lot of different things to it and just make the car look like my own and, you know, make it stand out from the crowd. You know, obviously if I had more time, you know, obviously more money, I could have done 100 different things. Could have wide bodied the, you know, the car, done something crazy to it, you know, put in crazy new wheels and everything. But for the time being, I knew that really wasn't what I wanted to do, and I knew that wasn't the direction I wanted to go into. So that did play a factor in me trading in that car. Now, the fourth reason is the daily ability of the car. Going back on my channel, my whole channel was basically built upon showing that you can daily drive a Camaro or daily drive a two-door coupe car. And I believe that you still can do it. Like, you can do it. If that's what you want to do, you can do it. If that's what you really want to do, you can do it. But it really came down to a point of what became much more usable, if that makes sense. Like, going back into my third reason, you know, if I wanted, there was only so much that I can do to the car to make it comfortable for the street and still usable on a track. Like I said before, if you really wanted to daily drive that car, you can. You can daily drive it. I did. And it's totally fine. But it comes to a point of what do you really want? And for myself, I'm seeing that maybe it wasn't the best decision to just have a strictly like a two-door coupe or a sports car as your daily driver. It makes more sense for me to have a daily driver that's going to be a good daily driver. You still have fun in it, you still do the things you want to do and have a lot of fun in it. But then have a second car that you can go all out on, and, you know, doesn't necessarily have to be the fastest thing out there or, you know, the prettiest or the newest, but having a second car that you have and modifying that one more and more to make that a much more trackable car, I'm seeing that might be the better approach than just having one car. I can totally see why some people have the Evos and the STIs, because they do make good all-around cars if you're looking for that. I'm not saying that you can't daily drive the Camaro, because I did for a year, and even before that I had a Eclipse, and I daily drove that thing for about a year and a half, and that was totally fine. But, you know, it's just depending on what you want. If you want the car to be a full-on race car, like a full-on track-oriented car, then it might be better off for you just to have a car that's dedicated to do that. So you don't have to really worry about that balance between daily driving and track. The fifth reason why is I've always loved trucks and Jeeps. I love cars. I love cars. I love driving cars aggressively, and I love driving cars, you know, all the time. But there's something about trucks and SUVs I've always liked. I'm not sure what it really is. I guess I really like just the driving position of when you're inside of a truck or an SUV. You have a much more higher driving position. It gives you a really nice, superior feeling when you're driving on the road. I don't know. I've always loved trucks. I don't know why. I love, you know, like diesel trucks, Jeeps, and just stuff like that. So that has always been plaguing me in the back of my mind. It's like I always love trucks. You know, if I see a lifted truck or like a lifted SUV, I'm going to be looking at that over looking at, you know, someone in their STI or someone in their, you know, like Ferrari or something like that. I don't know why. I'm always looking at the trucks more than I am looking at the cars. Don't get me wrong. If someone has a Bugatti Veyron, I'm going to obviously look at that. But, you know, I'm just using that as an example. But I typically look at the trucks more than look at the cars, if that makes sense. And also, I'm not going to lie, I kind of like the factor of when people see someone with a lifted truck or like a lifted Jeep or something like that, a lot of people, they kind of look at you like, what is this guy doing? Like, why did you do that? I don't know. I kind of like that approach of just like, yeah, you're doing something that a lot of people don't like. I mean, some people do, some people don't. But I kind of like that factor of you're just doing it anyway because you want to do it, and it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. So I love that factor about it too. If you guys don't know, I did have a Jeep Wrangler before, and I kind of just fell in love with it. So looking back, when I found this one, it was a pretty good deal on it, and all the numbers, they made sense. Looking back, I think I made the right decision. So with that in mind, that's the reason why I traded in the Camaro towards this. And for you guys, I have a little bonus. Now, this reason, it's kind of going into like all the other topics that I just talked about earlier in this video. This is just, you have to do what you want to do that makes you happy. You don't have to worry about what anyone else thinks, anyone else says. I mean, a lot of people, when they found out I traded in my Camaro, they were like, why would you trade in your Camaro for a Jeep? A lot of people didn't really understand why. They just didn't quite get it. I just want to tell you guys that, you know what, sometimes you got to do what you want to do that makes you happy. If it's driving a Ferrari, if that makes you happy, drive it. If you're happy driving an old classic punch bug, a little Beetle, do that. If you're driving a Miata, do that. Drive whatever you want to drive that makes you happy. You don't have to worry about what other people think. People are always going to be, there's going to be fans and, naysayers of any type of cars, so it doesn't really matter with that. Yes, the Camaro, it looked cool. I did get a lot of people, telling me the car looked cool, but also I get a lot of people telling me that the Jeep is cool, and I like that. So I just want to say, for anyone out there, if you're being discouraged because of what other people are telling you, if people are trying to pressure you into buying a certain type of car, or you feel like you need to drive a car that it'll make you happy, or it'll make people think that you're cool, it doesn't really matter. It really doesn't when it comes down to it. Drive what you want to drive, and if it makes you happy, it makes you happy. But yeah, guys, that's the reason why I traded in my Camaro. Hopefully that clears up any questions that you have. But yeah, I traded in my Camaro for this Jeep Wrangler Unlimited. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you like this video, give me a like. Check out some of the other videos that I've done. I've done videos before in the past on my Camaro, and I'm doing a lot more videos on this Jeep Wrangler. So if you like this type of stuff, like my channel. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next video. See ya.